Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. Today we're going to review The Batman. Hey everybody, welcome back to BK's Bullets. As always, I'm your host, Brent, and today we're going to review The Batman. Now, my thoughts tend to be pretty general overall in terms of when I do these off-the-cuff reviews and stuff, but if you haven't seen The Batman and want to stay away from spoilers, I would say go see the movie and then come back and watch the review. Do I think you should go see the movie? You can just listen to this part. Absolutely. This is a great Batman film, one of the best that we've ever had. So, quick thoughts, that's it. There you go. Go see it and then come back and we can talk about it. The Batman. Well, rather long, although I will say even for its 3-hour length, it did not, it felt like 3 hours, but there was never a moment where I was not engaged on screen with what was going on screen, with the story, all that other stuff. So I thought the tone of the movie was it's very dark, very noir. So if you don't like a good mystery film, you might not like this one. Although the characters are very good, I think this is the most Batman we've ever gotten on screen. In fact, I feel like, as opposed to some movies where I feel like '89 Batman, I feel like you had an equal amount of Bruce Wayne and Batman, where this one is very heavily weighted towards the Batman in terms of screen time rather than Bruce Wayne. I feel like there's maybe 3 scenes where Pattinson doesn't have the mask on, and I feel like that helps the movie a lot be a Batman film versus a superhero movie, or be more compared to, you had a bunch of scenes with Alfred in the Batcave and the Nolan movies and stuff, and it was kind of equally weighted between everybody, between the villains, between Bruce Wayne, between Batman and the other side characters in those films, whereas this one is clearly a Batman movie, The Batman Show, and it stands out and succeeds, I think, because of that in a way that no other Batman film has. This definitely feels like you're reading a long comic book, whether you're reading Batman Hush, not really in terms of style or scope, just like a 12-issue arc. It really does feel like you're reading maybe The Long Halloween or Batman Dark Victory, or maybe even City of Crime, which just came out in deluxe hardcover by David Lapham, writes that with Ramon Box on art. I think that was an underrated Batman story, and this definitely feels like that sort of long, prolonged arc of, 12, 13 issues where you get a little bread piece and a little crumb in every issue, where in The Batman you get it every 10 minutes. There's a new clue to dissect. And we do dissect those clues, and that was the most fun and unique thing about this film in terms of other Batman movies, is that we're actually dissecting the clues. We're seeing them do the detective work. Yes, Batman does have some high-tech gadgets in this film, but it's a lot of mental gymnastics that he's doing, and you can kind of do it along with him. He's just using the technology to help him solve the riddles, to solve the crimes, as opposed to like in The Dark Knight, you had the whole bullet reconstruction sequence where the computer did all the work and it was just Bruce Wayne and his access to money that allowed him to do it. Here, Bruce Wayne is the mind behind everything, and he's just using technology to make stuff faster or allow him to recall. I think the most unique thing about this one was the whole thing with the cameras and the lenses and the contacts and the microphone. He does his mission, he goes home, he reviews the mission, and then writes his journal entry down. I really did like that opening narration, like in the second scene of, you hear Bruce's voice, or Batman's voice or whatever, just talking. He's just like reading his journal entry aloud, or that's what he's writing, and you're just kind of like reliving the events of the night with him and his feelings and stuff. Definitely felt like a Batman comic, like Court of Owls, or I think Hush had a lot of narration boxes, the blue narration boxes, where you're just in Bruce's mind, you're seeing his thoughts, you're hearing his thoughts, and you get that in this movie. Although it's a little bit like heavy at the beginning and a little bit at the end, it did kind of, once the movie starts taking off, in terms of plot and character arcs, you kind of lose that. You never hear, like, he's not interjecting to the audience all the time the way that Deadpool is in his movies with his turns to the camera and saying, hey, did you like that? It's sort of a framing thing to tell you, like, it starts on a Wednesday, starts on a Thursday and ends on a Wednesday. It gives you, like, so this whole movie happens in the time, a span of a week, basically, for Batman. So I really did like that. I thought that those were two brand new things that we had not seen in Batman movies before, and they did them spectacularly well, and it really added a lot to the movie, I thought. The color tones here, I definitely get why everything is black and red. I mean, the whole logo treatment, it's definitely echoed in the movie, as opposed to, like, The Dark Knight. You had, like, this blue, or, Batman Begins had this gold aesthetic. I mean, it was all kind of there. But Batman Begins was a little weirder because the symbol on the logo on the movie poster didn't match the symbol on his chest. This is kind of like that. There's no ears or anything on his chest, which I still have issue with. Put some damn ears on in the next movie, I hope. But the whole red tone aesthetic, you get it here with sunrises and sunsets and flares and gunshots in the dark and all that, lights and the iceberg lounge. That whole, everything ties in together with this movie, and it's just done in a beautiful way. The score is really haunting. It's not a Batman '89 zany score where, Danny Elfman's tickling the keys and playing, trombones and brr, brr. It's very slow and prodding, and it ramps in a different way than Hans Zimmer does. I thought Hans Zimmer did a fantastic job on all of his Batman scores, but this just is haunting and slowly kind of like dripping, kind of like oozing just moodiness and darkness the entire time. But it does ramp up and get exciting, but it really, I feel like it falls back in those places where it ramps up, and you're using the score sometimes to elevate a moment. There are moments in here that I thought, my wife was sitting next to me, we saw it this afternoon while the kids were in school, I had the day off, and really enjoyed, some things that she thought were kind of cheesy, I really liked. Batman stepping out of the shadows and hearing his boots squeak on the ground as he walks slowly towards the gangsters in the opening of the film. I really liked that. I thought that was menacing. I was on the edge of my seat, like sitting like this, like just kind of like, oh, I can't wait to see where this goes. I really dug Batman in the crime scene with Gordon, with all these cops, and you hear the cops, you're really gonna let this guy in? He's a freaking vigilante, Come on, what are you doing here? He's touching stuff, man. It makes it more grounded, more realistic to say that the cops do not like Batman there, and that they would see Batman there, as opposed to some of the times where in the comics, Batman is there but not there. He's always in a shadow or something. And this is very clearly like, brings the realism in, like, yeah, you're in a dark room, but the room's not that dark that Batman could hide in a corner the entire time and you not know he was there until he wanted you to. This kind of brings that down. Maybe we'll get a little bit more of that, and then if there's next film, but, I really did enjoy that. So I thought when they were talking about this movie, how they were going to make it the most grounded Batman take ever, I was kind of groaning, like, do we really need another grounded take? I thought Nolan did that very well in his grounding, but this really is the most grounded take on Batman. And I thought that's not what I wanted, and I still think I will take a bright superhero shiny take on Batman with a little bit more of the direction the DCEU kind of wanted to go before Ben Affleck dropped out as director on the next movie. I'll still take a take like that. That's fine with me, maybe a little less hyper-violent, but this grounded take on Batman I really enjoyed. I did not think this is what I wanted, but I really enjoyed this take. I really enjoyed seeing everything happen in here, and I thought it was really well done. Like, I honestly, I'm such a fan of the Nolan movies. I did not think that you could do another grounded Batman take as well as he did. Well, I think Matt Reeves kind of surpassed Nolan in the groundedness. I mean, Nolan always embraced those things about Batman which you love, that are, the extra things, the flower that has the fear toxin, or Bruce's money just buying the tumbler and things like that. Some extra things. The bat suit was a little bit less realistic than probably was really able to do that kind of thing. And, You know, everything was kind of hyper detailed and hyper stylized in terms of design in that ultra modern, ultra kind of almost sci-fi way in the Nolan films, whereas this film is definitely the like let the Star Wars approach, like let's kit bash stuff together, let's take a gas mask and some rodent cages and put them together and make a trap for a guy and kill him that way. You know, Batman is clearly wearing some armor plates, and I think, you know, it's weighing him down, and that's why he's walking so slowly. He's not quite the quick, agile. This is not the super fast, high-tech Batman that Nolan's movie was. With that technology, it's clearly like something he bought off the shelf and is wearing. I mean, the thing deflects bullets, for crying out loud, which I'm still not sure on, but I did like how they used it in the film. I never once did not believe that he was hurting after one of those incidents, and because he's kind of this walking tank, when it did happen and he's so armored and you can see it all the time, like his cape is always over his shoulders, because I guess if you're gonna wear a cape, like you don't want it hanging over you and you to have to sweep it open for you to grab it or punch somebody. So they never used it in that way, which is still something I think a movie should do, but man, there were a lot of great moments in this movie. The wingsuit moment, I was over the moon for, and the bit at the end to show him like he's still learning, this is year 2 Batman, I really did like. You know, Batman's not perfect, and this movie showed that, and I really did like everything they did with the character. I can get behind, I can embrace and say this movie is almost, it might be the new definitive take on Batman. We shall see as time goes on, but I think the reactions are going to be really high for this movie. I think Robert Pattinson did a fantastic job. I gotta say, I was a little unsure of the cowl and the stitching and stuff and the homemadeness of it, but seeing the way that it showed up in the movie, I'm totally a fan of it. I think it fails a little bit when you get in the brightly lit spots in the nose area, maybe the cheek, but you know, if we get another film and they kind of refine that a little bit and make it a little bit more sleek to fit with the rest of that bat suit, I'm totally in favor of it. But I really did like the silhouette of it. I think they nailed with the ears and just the size of the head and all that stuff. Really think they nailed the silhouette of this cowl, and that is vastly improved over, you know, the Batfleck cowl with the short ears. I love the ear length. Please give me this length of ears every time you do Batman. No more short-eared Batman. I don't like that. I like this size ears. Let me know that he's there. Let me know that it's a freaking bat, for crying out loud. But yeah, I really did like it. The only thing I couldn't figure out from this movie that I didn't see him use was whatever was on his gauntlets, like those little silver spines. I wasn't quite sure what those were, or if he used them, I didn't quite catch what he used them for. Everything else he did use. The chest symbol, he did use that finally towards the very end of the film. Now, I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. I was grossly engaged, but I do gotta echo other people's sentiments that the third act of this film does kind of fall apart, but I think it's kind of in the same way that Batman Hush kind of does. Once you figure, like that last issue of Batman Hush, when you find out that it is the Riddler behind everything, does kind of like disassemble the story. And once Riddler is caught here, and once Falcone is dealt with here, the story does kind of like crumble on a little bit too long. It's like, you know, we have to have this big hero saving moment at the end of the film, but how do you tie that in with a mystery? They didn't really do that. They kind of just separated those two, and this was the final play. I did like the scene with Paul Dano in Arkham Asylum with Batman. Really felt that was good, and up until that point, I was thought maybe the movie was going to end, and then we had this finale in the basketball arena, which I was just kind of like, meh. Like, the most exciting parts of this movie are not at the end. I think it is an action climax, but this movie is such a noir mystery film that the most exciting parts are the first 2/3 of it. And then once you get to that spot, it's kind of just, you know, you've been on the edge of your seat the whole time, so engrossed in a mystery, so that when the time they do kind of gear up for their big action climax, it's not quite as exciting. And there is a lot of action in this film, don't get me wrong. It's not all detective work. There's lots of punching, lots of beating up. There's all that throughout. So they did kind of, they paced this thing in terms of detective work, action scenes, and, you know, drama all the way through, and they did a great job. But it is not it never reaches the tension of the end of The Dark Knight with the bomb scene on the boats. You know, never get to that point quite so far, but I will say I was deeply engrossed, and because of the detective work, because of the way that Batman is interacting with Gordon. I gotta say, this is probably the best Batman movie we've had to date in terms of being a Batman movie. It's not really focused on more of the Riddler than it is Batman or the villains, like some of the other movies have suffered for that a little bit. But just this is the best relationship we've had between Batman and Gordon. This is the most screen time Gordon has got. And Jeffrey Wright playing Gordon is a phenomenal Gordon. I love his take on Gordon. Just the way that they're talking to each other. They've been working for a long time. They seem like partners, and Gordon, I think, is a little dismayed that, his partner went to be on in Commissioner, and he's still like left in the lurch. So maybe he took on the Batman here and made Batman his new partner instead of getting a real one. The scene towards the end in the police cage, was very interesting, very believable. Really a big fan. I thought for a second towards the end of the movie that they were kind of going to pull the string on the identity piece. But it never really came. Like the trailers lead you to believe that Riddler knows exactly who Batman is, and I never really got that in the film. It left me wondering in a way that they can probably play with in the next film, if there is a next film. So I think it's a phenomenal Batman movie. Just that third act kind of falls apart a little bit. So I think, yeah, you could have tightened this up. Definitely, but not in a way of editing. I think it needed maybe a rewrite to tighten everything together and pull it in. I feel like if you were at 2.5 hours, this would have been a great film, not or an amazing film, a 5 out of 5, not a 4 out of 5. So that's where I would put it on my scale. This is a 4 out of 5 movie, just in general, but it is the best Batman movie we've gotten so far. So take that as you will. Like, does this beat Dark Knight or Dark Knight Rises for me? No, but it is definitely in the top 3 or maybe top 2. We will have to watch it some more times for that. But this is definitely a film you can watch and rewatch but it's going to take your whole attention. This is not a film you're going to be able to put on in the background and follow along with. This is definitely something that's engrossing, it's engaging, and that's where it succeeds. And I got to say, bravo to Matt Reeves, Robert Pattinson, I was going to say Selena Kyle, but Zoe Kravitz is great as Selena Kyle. Really loved her. Oswald Cobblepot, Colin Farrell behind all that makeup as the Penguin, as little screen time as he gets. I mean, he's in a couple of scenes, but man, I think they're really setting him up to do a lot of scene chewing and maybe in another film. So I hope that is the case. So I really did enjoy this Batman movie. Could not be happier, I think, in terms of the Batman-ness of it. It's just the film part of it, I think, drags a little bit in the third act because we've kind of seen Batman save a whole bunch of people. I kind of maybe would have liked it just to be only a detective film and them solve the case and just close on that last shot of maybe the in Arkham or the coffee or whatever like that. I feel like that would have been a strong ending as well. So there you go. That's my thoughts on The Batman here in 2022. Let me know what you guys think of The Batman down below in the comment section. What did you like? Disagree with me? Did you agree with me on anything? Did you love something way more than I did? Did I miss something that I didn't catch? Did you find out what those things are on his gauntlets? Let me know down below in the comments. We will see you guys next time in the Funny Pages.